The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
The Canucks have existed as a pro franchise for 55 years. And in those 55 years, they've never won championships in the NHL or AHL level. Well, guess what? That's all about to change. And hey, guess what? Is ownership also about to change? Let's go.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
A happy Friday, happy potentially championship weekend, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the show, we got to thank you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks, because it is your Canucks every damn day. And we're not here without you tuning in. We're also not here without those sponsors, baby. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Go download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Coming up on today's episode, it's history-making season for your Vancouver Canucks. Is there a historic trade the Canucks are about to make? We'll tell you about trades that they maybe should avoid. Let's talk about the ownership. Are the Canucks about to experience a significant shift in their ownership group? We'll get on to the latest reporting in that. And of course, we'll talk about your Abbotsford Canucks about to potentially make history for the Vancouver Canucks organization. All that and more coming up on today's show. But before we get to that, let me introduce my co-host. Kyle, you and I made history in September of 2011 by becoming friends. Kyle Bowen, how's it going, brother?
Damn, that was a historic day. I don't think I've ever said that in my life. A historic day. Felt good. It felt like a story, man. Speaking of a story, this episode is literally all over the place, okay? Top, middle, to the farm team. That's crazy. Aquilini, Demko to the Oilers, and Abbotsford winning the first Calder Cup in what? I was going to say franchise history. Is that true? Is that true? Like Utica never won. The Manitoba Moose never won. Like, what? Never? Really?
I'll give listeners a lowdown. Let's start in Abbotsford, because I was at the rink last night. You know, I had chills go up my spine, man. It was just a packed house, 7,100 people. It was just, it felt more intense than any other Canuck game I've been at, man. Guys going to the box, everyone's doing the Game of Thrones, shame. The RT's better chants, the we want the cup chants, the towels going wild, the crowd roaring for Sammy Blais. It was a crazy night down in Abbotsford. And of course, they take a 3-1 lead in the series. And the young guys leading the way for the Vancouver Canucks, which is really exciting too. Artur Shilov's another big night. Jonathan Lekermacki tripled his goal total. Came into the game with 1 postseason goal, left with 3 with a 2-goal night, including the game winner. Archie Baines with a beautiful goal himself. But Kyle, to answer your question, the Vancouver Canucks AHL affiliate has never won a championship while being associated with the Canucks. So again, we're talking about 55 years of Canucks hockey. 110 years the Canucks have never won an NHL or AHL championship. They've made it. Their AHL team has made it to the final 4 times. The 1988 team with the Fredericton Express. The 2009 team, Manitoba Moose, led by Corey Schneider. In 2015, they made it with the Utica Comets, led by Jacob Markstrom. All 3 of those teams lost in the finals. This is the 4th time a Canucks minor league team has made it to the Calder Cup finals. And Abbotsford, again, pretty damn close to pulling it off after, again, a crazy night in Abbotsford. And man, oh man, they could make history in Abbotsford at home on Saturday.
Okay, but you know what? This is not Locked On Abbotsford, okay? So I'm gonna immediately ask you this: like, what does that mean for Vancouver moving forward, going into next year? Like, what does history tell us about an organization? Because this is an organizational thing, right? Even like going as far as saying, winning a Stanley Cup, it's an organizational thing. It has a lot to do with your farm team to some extent. What does this mean? Again, the success of the AHL club. Next year's a big year. It's Operation Quinn Hughes. Is it as simple as the floor of this team, which, it has to be very high for a team to win a cup. Let's be real. The ceiling has to be obviously way higher than high, but the high floor is like, it's the foundation, right? Especially in playoff series. If you're 3rd and 4th liners and you're number 5 and number 6 defensemen, who are getting paid less than $1 million, if they're just so talented, there's a good chance you're going to win a round or two. If that's supplemented with like Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson playing out the best of their abilities, Demko, then we're talking. Who knows? All in all, though, besides from the floor, like, is there anyone that you saw yesterday, or is there a chatter around a particular guy, courtesy of this AHL run, that can make even like a Lundell? I keep bringing up this guy's name, but I can't stop thinking about him. Okay, or Lusterine and like Impact.
Yeah, and that's really what you're looking for in the Calder Cup playoffs, right? Like, who are going to be those one or two guys that potentially come out of a championship winning team and impact an NHL roster? And look, to be completely honest with you, I think the Calder Cup means less than you like to believe when you're cheering for an NHL team. Like, you look at the past winners. The Charlotte Checkers won recently as a Carolina affiliate. The Hershey Bears have won back-to-back. Often, good teams have good AHL squads, right? You know, the Hershey Bears, the Washington Capitals affiliate, they were the back-to-back winner heading into this season. All of a sudden, a couple guys go up to Washington and protest and McMichael and have an impact there, right? The Charlotte Checkers, when they won a few years back, had Martin Necas on the roster. He was one of their best players. Toronto Marlies, obviously, the Toronto Maple Leafs have been a playoff contender for a long time. But again, you are looking for one to two guys. Now, when you look at this Abbotsford Canucks team, the issue I have, and it's not a bad thing, it's more quantity perhaps than quality. Now, Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, no, but I'm just being honest, man. I'm just being honest, right? Like Linus Karlsson, R.C. Baines, Max Sasson, Phil DiGiuseppe, Victor Mancini, Kirill Kudryavtsev, like all these guys have been having great playoffs. I know I kind of threw PDG in there with the young guys, but there's half a dozen or more guys who are having an impact right now in Abbotsford. I don't think any of those guys are becoming star NHLers. Maybe aside from Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, maybe Victor Mancini. But for the most part, these are role players. But again, the depth's been built up in the organization. That's the big positive. And I think there's a handful of guys who could have an NHL impact. But Kyle, tell me I'm wrong. Like, I don't think there's like a legitimate star coming out of this Abbotsford Canucks team potentially, aside from perhaps Jonathan Lecker-Mackey.
Okay, but screw the whole star, like the star debate. Again, like, who's like gonna be like a Brian Rust, or who's gonna be like a Yanni Gourde, or like I'm talking even, again, we brought up Lundell, Listerine. I don't know their AHL stats or whatever. I'm just like, who, because I'm not expecting these guys to be like Hall of Famers, but who's like, does Sasson have a chance? Does Sasson have a chance to like possibly even turn into like a Pius Suter, like a really good NHLer, like play a role on a good team? I think, you listed I would say at least 3 or 4 of those guys. Like, can DPD and, again, a lot of recency bias, Kirill Kudryavtsev and Mancini, can one of those guys be like Nikola on Florida? Probably. I would even go as far as like, can one of those guys turn into like a Brett Kulak? Because now we're talking about players like Kulak and Nikola, Lundell. Like, those guys are on teams that win in the playoffs. And I think you listed I would say, maybe 4 of them. 4 of them. And Lecker-Mackey, I'm going to put him in another category because we kind of need him to be like 25, 30 goal guy, right? Like top 6. Not in the bottom. I'm talking. And I love the way he scored last night too. Some beautiful finishes. There's been a lot of beautiful finishes from Lecker-Mackey this year, right? He's not just banging it in front of the net. Oh, Taco would like to see that. Oh, the Canucks, for him to take the next step in his career, he's going to really learn. He needs to learn how to score in front of the net. No, he doesn't. I don't give it. He doesn't have to score in front of the net. Let him just finesse it like a goal scorer, okay? So let's not have him be a bottom 6 guy. Sasson, he could do it. Okay, I'll say Sasson can do it. He's probably the only one out of the other forwards that you just mentioned that I can guarantee that guy's going to be, like, there's a 70% chance that he's going to be a good NHLer. Or maybe Ratu too. Boom, bam.
Yeah, I think Ratu and Lecker-Mackey got the pedigree, right? So you expect more from them. But yeah, when you're looking at that basket of, Linus Karlsson and R.C. Baines and Max Sasson, I think they all have a chance to be NHL players. I think Max Sasson stands out especially because I think he's got the hockey IQ and the speed to make it in the NHL. R.C. Baines and Linus Karlsson, you worry about their foot speed a little bit, but Linus Karlsson is starting to carve out a bit of a niche of just getting to the net and banging home the rebound goals, being tough to play against the corners. And I think Archie Baines of Sasson, Carlson, and Baines, I think Baines is the highest hockey IQ. He really just has to put it all together.
Sorry.
I think you saw some tentativeness with Baines at the NHL level this season. Just some, maybe getting caught up with the pace of the game or just trying to play it a bit too safe, a bit Colson-esque. But I think if Baines can unlock some confidence at the NHL level, I think he could be the smartest player of the three, even if he's not maybe the most, physically gifted in terms of his skating or his strength. Although Baines was mixing it up in quite a few scrums last night too. So, I mean, look, all those guys got a chance. Then on defense, I think Mancini and Kudryavtsev really do stand out, right? Mancini, another great game last night, playing on the top pairing in Abbotsford with Guillaume Brisebois. First got off the boards on the penalty kill. Thought Mancini had some great reads on the penalty kill last night, just going in between his guys and just defending succinctly and properly. So again, I do think there's, half a dozen guys here. We haven't really talked about Artur Shilov, so I think it's NHL potential too. So again, there's 6-7 guys here that I think are going to have a chance to be NHLers. How many of them do it in Vancouver is the other question, or how many of these players do you capitalize on for assets in a trade, if possible, this offseason. But, again, credit to this Canucks management group. They've built a good team in Abbotsford, and they've built up the depth of this organization. You got a number of guys next season who are going to be able to push for roster spots, potentially make this team.
Again, look at how Carolina acquired Jake. I know it was a rental, but look at what they did to acquire Jake Ensel last year. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, and can you do the research for me so I don't sound like a complete idiot? But I feel as if that was a quantity. Like, hey, we have a good AHL system, so take a bunch of guys from this team and a first round pick, and they got Jake Ensel for that. They weren't able to keep Jake Ensel, but in an alternate universe, what if they did? They'd have one of the best wingers in hockey on their team. Like, there is something to be said about Carlson possibly being put in a trade, part of a trade package that involves a couple other guys. Now, Trevor, I read a thing too. I don't know if it's true or not. Ratu, RFA, Arshdeep, RFA, Maxison, RFA. There's probably a couple more there too, but I don't know if you can confirm that right now if your internet connection is fast enough. But they keep all those guys, right?
Yeah, especially with the RFA status, I think 100% chance. Yeah. 100% be a little strong, but yeah, it's more likely than not they keep all of those guys.
You think any of those players are going to be demanding like one-way contracts? Like demanding it? Like that's the only thing stopping them from, I guess,
It's hard to demand it as an RFA, right? That's the problem. I would say likely not. If any of them, I think Ratu, I don't think he's going to demand it, but of the group, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the guy who gets the one-way contract, which basically just means that he would get the same salary at the NHL and AHL level. And the Canucks have done that with Vasily Podkolzin, Jack Rathbone, Nils Höglander as well, Artur Shilov. So they've done that kind of deal with guys like Ratu before. So wouldn't surprise me the slightest if Ratu's the guy that gets it. But yeah, I would expect the Canucks to keep all their RFAs. I'd be shocked if they didn't among the group you listed.
And the one-way thing has something to do with waivers too, right? You just have to go through waivers, or can two-way players have to go through waivers too? Can you explain that? Because I thought, have the rules changed? Or I haven't played the video games in quite some time, but can you explain that before we get to break and talk about some more history? Like Demco to Edmonton just got denied theoretically, and who's got $499 million and not like, yeah, who's got that?
We're going to crowdsource that. We'll talk about the ownership situation. Talk about Demco to the Oilers. Talk about that on the other side. Quickly on waivers, the one-way, two-way contract doesn't really have anything to do with waivers. It's all based on your experience as a pro. So it's related to age. I don't have the games and age with me, but the older you get based on and mixed with how many games you played, that determines your waiver eligibility. The one-way, two-way just decides how much you get paid in the NHL and AHL level. So if a guy's on a one-way contract, and gets sent to the minors, he could still be waiver exempt, like a Ratu. But it just means he gets the same salary at the NHL and AHL level. It doesn't matter where he's playing.
Damn, I didn't know that until now. That's why I'm a guy who uses the internet and has bought a microphone off Long and McQuaid. I'm not a reporter. I'm not the media. I'm just a fan, man. Thank you, Trevor.
I'm here for you, buddy, and I'm here for you and you because I love all of you here listening on Locked On Canucks. I certainly love you more than the Canucks ownership group. What? And I love you more than the Edmonton Oilers. We'll be back here on Locked On Canucks. Man, oh man, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time, baby. There's nothing like playoff hockey, okay? Especially down in Abbotsford. The energies, the rivalries, the nonstop action. And guess what? There's never been a better time to see it all live. And Game Time makes getting into the building fast and affordable. Game Time also gives you last-minute ticket deals, zone deals for deep discounts, panoramic seat views, baby, and all-in pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ticket prices often drop the closer you get to puck drop, so you can score big without overpaying. And man, oh man, the Abbotsford Canucks is the hottest ticket in town right now. I did check out the Game Time app. There are like 2 tickets left I saw on there for the Abbotsford Canucks Game 5, the potential to host the Calder Cup. Yeah, it's
awesome.
crazy times.
That's beautiful. One love to Abbotsford. I hope you contributed to the economy by, going to a like the bar after or something and, gave them some beer money or something. Did you do that? Because the economy's in a tough time right now. Or did you just use the facilities, Trevor?
Kyle, I was working, man. I don't drink on the job most of the time.
Okay.
So I was one of the last guys in the building. I was there writing my article for Daily Hive, and Sad and Dan were doing sports at 650, like 5 feet from me. So yeah, no, I was by the time I finished up, the bars were all closed, man. So I was not contributing to the economy.
Yeah,
but I might contribute to the economy by buying tickets through Game Time. So make sure you take the guesswork into buying tickets with Game Time. Go download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. And we screwed up again because we took way too long to get to your comments. That's what me and Trevor are getting way more selfish in this thing called life. Can we be more empathetic? Can we be more friendly? Please? Because we're not talking to robots. We're talking to the people. Again, here on Locked On Canucks. I got a funny comment here. Okay, Bob Luger saying Carlson is like Neil Zaman with a +2 in all offensive skills. That is probably the truth. I guess Neil Zamon's days as the Vancouver Canuck, they're coming to an end. Like that's what this Calder Cup run actually means. Again, the floor is raising, Trevor.
I mean, Neil Zamon's injured right now. It's not like he's not playing because he's a healthy scratch.
Yeah, but all in all, like it's over. It's over. So thank you, Neil Zaman. Dan Jardine also saying
he signed for one more season. We'll see about that.
But is this guy a waiver? Or you think is he waiver exempt?
He's not waiver exempt, but I don't think he would get claimed.
Damn, you don't think the best looking player in hockey supposedly is gonna get claimed? Dude, sex sells, bro.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Speaking of that, Dan Jardine, we'll get to that comment maybe closer to the end of the show because speaking of like sex selling and propaganda doing all that, Trevor, we got to get into it, okay? Let's go to the ocean. Okay, let's go to Florida again. And this is, again, the part of the show where we scour the internet or surf the internet and find some hockey stuff that's sort of Canuck related. And Brad Marchand, he got hammered yesterday, and he started posting Instagram stories towards half of the National Hockey League because supposedly half of the National Hockey League helped Florida build a dynasty. Okay, he was taking photos of his teammates, and if they were drafted or traded by another team, he was thanking them publicly. Okay, and here's a photo of Gustav Forsling, and Marchand thanking the Canucks, thanking the Blackhawks, thanking Carolina. If I'm correct, or the Checkers. All in all, though, instead of talking about Forsling and what he could have done with the Canucks, because we beat McDavid last year if we have Gustav Forsling. We probably won a Stanley Cup last year if we have Gustav Forsling. Just think about that for a second. All in all, though, do you have a problem with the way Florida is celebrating the Stanley Cup? Because we're seeing a lot of Puck McDavid. Is hockey culture bad? Because now the champions are acting obnoxious. They're acting rude. And what other sport do you see this? They're like, screw, like, are you serious? They're dancing to Puck McDavid or Puck the Oilers? Dude, why are they copying us, man? That was my plan. I wish they could say I wish that we could do that. I wish we won the cup last year so we could start those chants in the club. And now Florida's doing it. And I feel as if Gary Bettman's not happy about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I think Gary Bettman just loves everything that comes out of Florida, man. That's his baby down there after the Arizona baby died. So, yeah, am I against it? Hell no, man. You think I'm gonna get mad at the Florida Panthers saying F McDavid and dancing around the club? Hell no, man. No, it's F the Oilers, man. This is what we wanted. Come on.
The Oilers are getting, they are getting roasted more than any other hockey team of all time. And I'm not talking about the internet. I'm not talking about podcasts. I'm not talking about clips. I'm literally talking about the team that beat you twice. I thought this was a game about respect. I thought when they had to do the handshake, like the handshake's the best moment in sportsmanship, the handshake after the game. Oh, look at McDavid and Tkachuk for the second straight year saying good game. Dude, these guys don't like each other. Florida doesn't have any respect for the Edmonton Oilers, and they've created so much material, so much versions of entertainment, just poo-pooing on the team that they just beat. And it's, again, Puck the Oilers and Puck McDavid. Yo, are we living in a fever dream? This is crazy, Trevor. This is a good week if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan.
That's a great week if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan. Again, we have a chance to make history in this market, right? And we've never seen an NHL or an AHL championship by this franchise. And then you have the Canucks rival, a team that we don't like here if you're a diehard Canucks fan on the West Coast, the Edmonton Oilers. Again, getting eviscerated in the media and not having really a clear path forward in terms of how they're going to improve next year. So, I mean, of course, the Canucks have got a long ways to go, all right? We don't live in a complete bubble here. We understand what's going on here in Vancouver. But let us just enjoy for a second the fact that the Edmonton Oilers are going through a tough time, man. That does make me feel better. And since the Oilers are going through a tough time, it's been rumored about that Thatcher Demko, could he be a fit in Edmonton? That would be a historic trade, and I would say a historically bad trade, because the last thing you want to do if you're the Vancouver Canucks is help the Edmonton Oilers win a Stanley Cup, and they might be a goaltender away from doing that, despite the aging roster, despite some of the inefficient contracts. They could be a Thatcher Demko away from winning. So my message to the Vancouver Canucks, who, again, are going to probably have to trade one of Demko, Lankin, and Orshilov's here, not necessarily, but likely, don't trade to Thatcher Demko to the Edmonton Oilers. Don't make one of the most historically dumb moves in franchise history.
Yeah, because knowing the Canucks' luck, if the Canucks actually helped the Oilers' goaltending problem and ultimately proved to McDavid that this team is a winning team, because Trevor, let's be real, McDavid's not signing a contract till like next June. I think when he's such a serious dude, I feel as if winning to him doesn't just mean getting to the Stanley Cup Finals, because he could do that with Draisaitl, but it means like not losing it because there's nobody else behind us, including a goaltender. So like he wants proof of concept. Like if they get there next year with Stuart Skinner and Stuart Skinner still sucks in the Stanley Cup Finals, getting there 3 straight years in a row isn't good enough. It's not good enough. Because which sounds crazy to say considering the Canucks have only made it to 3 in their whole thing. Okay. All in all, though, yeah, you don't want to help the Oilers win at all. If you're the Vancouver Canucks or any team in the Western Conference, I'm talking to Anaheim too, because Gibson's available, right? You want McDavid out of the conference, okay? It increases revenue on your team. It boosts your economy. Considering that guy, again, with one other teammate, Leon Draisaitl, who happens to be one of the greatest players too, can like manufacture Stanley Cup runs by themselves. And make Evan Bouchard $10 million. Dude, this team is so screwed. So screwed. Because how are they even going to afford a goaltender when they don't have cap space and they got to sign Evan Bouchard for $10 million? They're going to have Darnell Nurse and Evan Bouchard, who, again, historic in the playoffs offensively, but how does he play in the Stanley Cup Finals? Again, winning matters to the Oilers more so than anyone, and if I'm any team, I'm not helping out, especially in the West, I'm not helping McDavid win, because they're like, I'm a firm believer that if they had Bobrovsky, they could have won that series, even though, Nuge was hurt and Ekholm was hurt. Hyman was hurt. A lot of injuries. But if they had just a legitimate number one, keeping the score close, this, stealing games, it would have bought enough time for Draisaitl and McDavid to do their thing and win. And so they have a lot of work to do. But if Demko, again, this goes back to the Canucks, it would be so Canuckish if they made this trade. And Demko, all of a sudden, he's allowed to take steroids. And Papalitis, it's not a problem anymore. He has the strongest knees in the world. He never gets hurt again. And, he wants the Vezina and McDavid and him share the Conn Smythe together. I don't know. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, absolute nightmare fuel, man. So the Canucks shouldn't do it. But let's appease the listeners here for just a second before we switch gears here on Locked On Canucks. Kyle, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, but GV asked in the comments from Ireland, I believe. Is that the right GV? For the fun of it, what does that trade look like with Thatcher Demko to the Edmonton Oilers? It doesn't look like anything because there's no trade. But no, we talked about Nuge for Thatcher Demko. I'm not in love with that in the slightest. I would not do it. But is there anything the Oilers can give to the Vancouver Canucks outside of Draisaitl and McDavid that would make you consider trading Demko to them?
No, because they don't have Dylan Holloway anymore, man. So, yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I think this is when I have to give the floor once again to Trevor Beggs, because I want you to end this segment telling Canuck Nation that not only do you not trade Demko because you don't want to help, you don't even want the chance to help McDavid out, but tell Canucks Nation that, like, yo, let's have some trust in Demko's health, because that's all he has. All he has to be is healthy, and we saw it in glimpses last year, right? And the year before, this past season, the Vezina candidate. All we need is this guy to be healthy to turn this whole thing around. Like, we talk about Quinn Hughes staying in Vancouver, winning fixes everything. Dude, Demko could be, like, especially on a friendly deal, because apparently they're working on a contract extension or talking about it. They're talking about it right now. If he signs a team-friendly deal, whatever that means, because I don't think he has that much leverage, it could be the best decision in Canucks history.
100%. I do think it's in the Canucks' best interest to get him re-signed this offseason. I mean, we talked about Demko versus Chilovs all offseason. I've been one of the biggest Demko believers in this market, I think, since 2014. I still really do believe in Thatcher Demko. I think you got the perfect goaltender behind him now in Kevin Lankinen to limit his starts. And again, Demko's value has diminished just based on the fact that he hasn't been available. So if you can get him done, 3 years, like $6-ish million, even something like that. I mean, that's a really good situation for the Canucks to be in. Okay, let's cut to break here on the other side. I want to get to a few comments because they're popping off today. And let's talk about the thing that matters most of all, and that is sell the team.
Okay, we back over here on Locked On Canucks. One love to the Don't Doze Art Lab for giving us the space to give you that West Coast bias. Join the Substack, join the Discord, link in the bio. We're going to edit that Substack today. And I think I'm only going to do once a week moving forward, because I don't think people like email spam. And it's just, I don't want to talk to Trevor that much. So yeah, go read the Substack if you want to read our text messages. And I think you will enjoy that. Trevor, I saw something in the comments that's making me laugh. Okay, I know we got to talk about Aquilini selling the team, but look at this. It would be so Canuckish. Like, I would quit being a Canucks fan. Now, this is not going to happen, but I would quit being a Canucks fan if the Canucks traded Demko to the Oilers for Vasily Podkolzin. Okay, let's talk about the ownership thing, okay? $500 million. Who has it, Trevor? What are we talking about here? Is it true? Paolo Aquilini, he wants to sell his portion of the team. Apparently, it's like $500 million, allegedly, assumingly. Don't hurt me, Francesco. I'm just reading tweets and reports. What's going on with the situation?
Yeah, so multiple reports out there from guys like Cam Robinson, Frank Zervalli talking about how Paolo Aquilini Not only does he want to lead the Vancouver Canucks, but he's actually splitting from the Aquilini group in total. So it looks like the estimated buyout based on reports is $475 million. So it's time to start a GoFundMe here on Locked On Canucks. But not so fast, because reports also suggest that Francesco Aquilini, while they're looking to either buy out Paolo or bring in another investor to help with the buyout, Francesco Aquilini would still have say over all hockey-related matters. But man, oh man, maybe if the people of Vancouver come together with $475 million just every day in Francesco's office, make that the ringtone. Yo, sell the team.
Right, every time the Canucks allow a goal, sell the team. You nuts. Sell the team. Okay. Again, Francesco, I hope you're not watching this. I've watched way too many movies. I get scared. Okay, honestly, I don't know who this guy is. I just know he's a rich man. But we gotta talk about this. There's holes, like, in whatever's happening over there, and I feel as if there's been like here, and I know it's the personal stuff is just like it quote unquote doesn't matter, but the fact that one of the stakeholders is like, yo, I don't even want to be part of the investment group anymore, and it happens to be your brother. I just like. There's that. Maybe Trevor, in the next 70 years, Francesco will sell the team, okay? I think the Aquilinis are going to sell the team eventually. That's what I'm saying. And I don't know if, like, getting the right guy in the door to be the minority owner can ultimately lead to, like, him eventually, he or her eventually being, like, the majority owner down the road. Like, I don't know if that, you know what I'm saying? But I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, like, is this a big deal? Like, whoever does come in as a minority owner, like, as a Canucks fan, like, how much should you care about that?
I think you should care about it because there has been obviously a lot of negative attention placed on the Aquilini family for their run in Vancouver. And it started off in the right note. They inherited a pretty good core. They hired the right guy, Mike Gillis. Things were great. And then as soon as Gillis left and Aquilini got his puppet, Mr. Jimbo, in charge, things started to really fall off the rails, right? And even last night at the Abbotsford Canucks game, talking a bit about the 2016 or the 2014 draft and the ties that the Aquilini family knew the Vertanens and all this stuff, right? There's been so much that has gone on behind the scenes where the Aquilinis have overly meddled and frankly hurt this team and turned them into a mediocre franchise after they looked like one in the early 2000s that could be set up for a long, sustained run of success. So if a new owner comes in, I think it signals hope that a new ownership group could take over. Because I think ideally the Aquilinis would like to, find the money themselves to buy out Paolo Aquilini. Again, a comment I saw about, how much does Paolo own? Based on my research, it looks like, again, franchise value of the Canucks is a shade under $2 billion. That's where that 475 for Paolo comes in. It looks like the Aquilini group owns it, but the Aquilini group is really the three brothers and then Luigi Aquilini as well. So again, if new ownership does get a foot in the door there, even though right now the reporting is that Francesco still wants say overall hockey matters, it does signal that change could be on the horizon. And if it comes, God, we could use some freaking change in this market and some change at the top, Max. It has been a tumultuous ride under the Aquilini group for the last pushing 20 years now.
And you know what? That's why I always say it, man. Hit the like button, because Trevor's for the people, man. Trevor, he's living the dream. Once in a while he gets to, go to Canucks games for free. What a lucky guy, right? What a lucky guy, living the dream. Yeah, he's willing to just openly say the owner sucks. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say that, but ownership matters. And I posted this in the Discord. It was from Reddit, and I think it was Aaron Ekblad talking about how that whole organization feels like a family. And I don't know how much it matters, but he was even talking about how, and maybe this would be the case too, if the Canucks either always ate at Elisa or were just winning games. But Ekblad was talking about how the owner or Bill Zito, the GM, they would cover all the bills for the dinners, the outings, the team bonding. Again, It makes it a little easier, right? First, they don't pay taxes down there. Now the billionaires buying you whatever the rich get richer. All in all, though, there's been so much smoke about his meddling with the team, like the Aquilini's meddling with the team, and how much BS that is caused. And it's making me want to do the homework again. Like, when did he buy the team? And did he like inherit Luongo and Kessler too? Or was that like he got there to then he told no, like I don't know the crazy timeline, but the fact that like he still wants to be so involved, it just gives me like power trip energy, and I just don't want any person in this organization in the NHL to make any hockey decisions if they're not watching 100 hockey games a month.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great point, Kyle. So I did want to bring up a couple points there. First and foremost was the quote from Aaron Epplot. I wanted to pull it up because, again, we don't know for sure how much the Aquilini, does for the Canucks on the road. Obviously, got the team plan. Like, owners got to do a lot for their players. You hear about the rookies have to pay for dinner, that kind of stuff. But this is the quote from Ekblad. Quote, "I don't think we've had a single meal on the road away from each other. Like, that's the kind of team we have." And Vinny Viola and Bill Zito picked up the tab 99% of the time. That's the thing, right? It's a tight-knit group. This organization does everything for the players, and it's a special place to be, a special franchise, and I don't think there's a better one. Honestly, it starts at the top. It starts with ownership. We say that time and time again. It's cliche because it's damn true. It starts with ownership, taking care of the players, hiring the right people, and staying the F out of their business and letting them do their jobs and just supporting them wherever they can without being meddling, as Aquilini's been in the past. Now, the second point, Ryan Reynolds, okay? One of Vancouver's finest, Ryan Reynolds. So I didn't want to look at Ryan Reynolds' next worth because I think there's a comment here like, okay, is Reynolds going to take over the Vancouver Canucks? So according to the World Wide Web, Ryan Reynolds, his net worth is estimated to be around $350 million, but he does have a stake in Aviation American Gin, which was sold for $610 million. So could Ryan Reynolds buy the Vancouver Canucks? It looks like he might be, a few million short, but he could be getting close to that conversation. Let's get Rob McElhenney in there, boom, bam. The new Canucks ownership group could be a lot sexier, that's for sure. Trevor Linden, yeah, there you go.
Trevor Linden, oh man, I feel like if Trevor Linden bought the Vancouver Canucks, my gym fee would probably be like $100 a month from like the 25. All in all, though, yeah, minority stake up for grabs. Again, I wonder if like that person who eventually buys that can find a way to like buy it all down the road, right? That's how business works. I've seen the movies. All in all, though, Aquilini, like, again, if you're not watching 150 games a month, please do not make any decisions because we know this is the truth. You didn't want to trade Brock Besser. You didn't want to trade Pius Suter because you wanted to make the playoffs. You want to win one round or play in one round. And that's just not good enough. Again, the Canucks historically in recent history been so bad, never make the playoffs. Yet we moved this year as if we were a team who was like contending every year. It's mind-boggling. It was one of the most mismanaged years of all time in hockey. Okay, I'll say that. I'm not honestly. Who does that? Nobody. Anyways, one love to all y'all. Enjoy the weekend. I don't know if you have a comment you want to read before we get out of here, but grateful, man. Appreciate every one of you, and I do want to apologize. Me and Trevor have been podcasting for about 8 years together, and A, we haven't made it as famous people yet, and B, we don't have $500 million. And when me and Trevor started this operation, I'll give you guys some insider trading. Me and Trevor said we're gonna buy the Canucks off of our podcasting and YouTube revenue, and we failed. So join the Substack, link in the bio.
Remember, though, it's not too late. It's never too late. Man, oh, man. Okay, my last on the Aquilinis. Look, okay, the Aquilinis bought the Canucks for $250 million. They're now worth $2 billion. They have made their money and then some on this franchise. And I think a guy like Paolo wanted to get out is very telling. The fact that, the franchise has grown quite a bit, and maybe Paolo being on the inside is not quite seeing the growth potential moving forward. He's right in there. He knows Aquilini or Francesco in his meddling ways. Hell, Francesco's children aren't even a fan of him. Now his brother's not a fan of him. What are you saying there? But again, maybe Paolo's seeing that it's time to get out. Obviously, there's some disagreement between the brothers. Maybe the other brothers will start to see the light that Paolo's shedding on this franchise. But remember, at the end of the day, it's go Canucks go. And I want my people at the top believing that and doing the best thing for the organization. We'll continue to do the best that we can here on Locked On Canucks. A couple of bozos talking hockey to you, but we love doing it. So we appreciate you for tuning in. I feel like what we're doing.
I got one more thing. I just want to confirm this. Okay. Ryan Kessler was drafted in 2003. So Aquilini wasn't the owner for that. And Roberto Luongo was a Vancouver Canuck right before Aquilini took full ownership of the Canucks. So he wasn't meddling then. And yeah, there were some smart decisions made afterwards to get us to the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals. But Henrik, Daniel, Luongo, Kessler, they were already there.
Well, and Gillis wasn't a puppet. That was the other thing too, right?
Yeah.
I think Gillis.
Ooh.
That was another episode of Locked On Canucks. Go share it with your friends. Hit the like button, subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Helps me feed my family. Helps me go home and just be like, I did it, kids. I did. I got 12 likes today. Maybe even make it 13 likes. Again, have a great weekend. We're going to be back pretty damn soon because it is Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day. Go Abbotsford, go.